Greetings, greenhouse people. We are back with another episode of Tech on Demand, where our goal is to help you grow your best crops ever. I'm your host, Bill Calkins, and throughout 2026, I've been catching up with different people in professional horticulture to find out a little bit about their careers, their passions, their journeys in the world of plants, and much more. And these conversations picked 4 because I sent each guest a list of 12 questions, and they picked 4 to answer, or in the case of this guest, they let me pick 4, which is even more fun to discuss, but this is going to be a fun one. My guest is Leslie Halleck, a consultant, an author, an educator, a true horticulturist, guru to many. I know, Leslie, it's really hard to nail down a description of what you do. Help me out here. What do you do?
Bill, you're very generous. That was a very nice introduction. And in my classic nonconformist, non-agreeable issues with authority approach, no, I'm not going to pick 4 questions for you because you asked me to pick 4 questions. So no, I'm not going to pick 4 questions. You ask me whatever you want. Yes, it's more fun that way, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And in your nonconformist way, how do you describe what you do? Like, what's your job description?
My job description is I do what I want in the horticulture industry. So I've had a meandering path, and we can talk about all the trolley stops along the way if you'd like to do that, or you can let me know where you want to start. But I suppose I'm an independent entrepreneur. I'm a certified professional horticulturist. I'm a horticulture educator. I'm a business consultant in the industry. Do a ton of writing. Yeah, I have a new book coming out, actually on greenhouses. So we can talk about that since we're talking to greenhouse people. Yeah. And obviously an avid gardener and plant collector. I kind of just call myself an everythingist because I like to do everything. I'm actually just finishing up my certification in guided nature and forest therapy, which is great because I just moved to Oregon and surrounded by forests. So, a botanist. I'm a botanist. I teach botany too. So I really, for me, how many things I can blend together within the plant science, applied horticulture, gardening, writing, education, that I just love doing all of it. So when I started my own company, Halleck Horticultural, maybe about 13, 14 years ago, it specifically was with the goal, I want to cherry pick the things I like to do the most in the industry that I think I've gotten really good at that will help other people, both businesses and consumers, so that I can enjoy what I do and stay energized and stay challenged. So yeah, I do what I want, I guess.
But you do what you want and you help other people. I think that it's not common to find a person with that kind of, DIY personality who's also has the goal of helping people. So, and teaching. I saw that you've been teaching courses through UCLA Extension.
Yeah, I'm a horticulture instructor there. I started teaching in 2020 when the pandemic hit and all the education institutions were kind of scrambling to figure out how to get education online. And there were some new courses they wanted to do. They wanted to build an indoor plants course. And so that's what they came to me for. So that was the first course that I built. So so I've been with UCLA for about 6 years now remotely. I teach remote. So I build really robust online courses, and then I do live office hours and things like that. So I teach a really in-depth 11-week indoor plants course, but it's amazing training for anybody in the industry because I go deep on the science. It's not a houseplant class, it's an indoor growing class. And then I teach botany. So I teach I built a botany course, and then I have 2 business courses that I built. 2 6 weeks business courses. One is called The Business of Horticulture. I have that running right now. And the follow-up course or companion to that is The Business of Selling Plants. So there were so many people coming into the program, starting with the plantdemic, wanting to transition their careers into the hort industry, wanting to start businesses. And, and being somebody who consults for businesses and entrepreneurs, there just really isn't coursework or training. Nobody teaches anybody how to manage plant inventory in the industry. Nobody teaches anybody how to use a customized open-to-buy system for plant replenishment for garden centers. Nobody teaches anybody how to do that. So that's what I did. I built these two courses specific for anybody thinking about making a career transition or has a business. If you have a 30-year-old business and you're not profitable, these classes are for you. So they're open enrollment. You don't have to be a matriculating degree student at UCLA to take my classes. It's open registration, and it's part of their horticulture certificate program, which, as you probably well know, that type of sort of vocational training that's outside of a traditional degree program, which is not as accessible to people, is becoming way more important. And so it's been really interesting to see that trend in who's coming to take the classes now over the last 6 years. So I love teaching. I love helping people. And that's, and all of the business consulting and everything I've done with my company for years is specifically to help businesses be profitable where they've been struggling. I really enjoy helping people actually be successful. So, I mean, I think anybody who loves plants and gardening and cultivating things, I mean, I think there has to be some sort of innate character there that is also lends itself to wanting to help and be helpful and cultivate other people and businesses just like you do plants.
I would like to think so. And I mean, I see it through most people in our industry for sure, but I don't think not everybody puts it into as clear of action as you do. This episode of Tech on Demand is brought to you by Prospient, delivering world-class greenhouse structures and systems. From innovative design and architecture to site development and project budgeting, the Prospient team provides the expertise to bring your vision to life. With local manufacturing across the U.S. and Canada, Prospient offers the scale and supply chain reliability you can trust, making them one of North America's largest manufacturers of commercial greenhouses. Prospient, leaders in greenhouse design, manufacture, and build. Learn more and connect with the expert team at prospient.com. And, you know, you were talking about these, like, nobody teaches folks at garden centers how to do these different, very critical actions. And I was thinking back to when we first met, you were at North Haven, right? Like,
right.
I mean,
North Haven Gardens. Yeah.
Okay. And you were doing all those things.
Yep.
And so how did you learn? Like, who was your mentor? Because you were buying, you were doing all like the business side of things.
I was the general manager for
Yeah.
North Haven Gardens, an IGC, family-owned 70-plus-year-old garden center in Dallas, 5 acres. And I learned on the ground. So I obviously learned from the owners of North Haven Gardens, but also really just had to follow my own aptitudes and learn to really love numbers. I had also been in the landscape industry. I'd been in public gardens. I'd been, I had a variety of, I had spent 4 years working IGC as my first job in the industry. So I spent starting at 18, I spent 4 years basically doing everything at a little IGC called the Green Fiddler, a 3-acre garden center outside of Denton, Texas. So I got a lot of foundational knowledge right out of the gate as my first job in the industry at a garden center, and was able to take that to North Haven. I had to learn a lot of that myself. I can't say I've never had a mentor in the industry. I have sort of just been a lone wolf on my own and had to figure these things out myself. But I think if you're focused on self-actualizing, if you really take time to look inward and figure out where your aptitudes are, what are you good at, or what is your brain interested in? I'm ADHD, HSP, high sensitivity personality, means I'm very sensitive to inputs, makes me hyper observational, hyper analytical. And when you're ADHD, you realize that motivation is specifically tied to interest. This is why the dishes don't get done. This is why the laundry doesn't get done, because my brain is not interested in doing those things. So there's no motivation tied to it. I started to figure out in the garden center and the growing industry what things were interesting to me, and whatever was interesting to me, I go down the rabbit hole and I figure out how to do it. And if you can pay attention to that in yourself, you can get good at a lot of different things if they interest you, right? And I learned to really embrace that it is okay to be profitable in this industry, to not think it's icky to make money just because we're passionate about plants. And I think that's a big place people fall down in this industry is yes, we got into it because we love plants or have a passion for
Right.
plants, but making money is also not icky. We can do it authentically and transparently and with goodwill and be environmentally sensitive, and we can make good choices, but also be profitable. And what I realized, and I learned how to do that, was that so many other people in the industry were really struggling with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, I could help a lot more people if I go out on my own and help other businesses do this. So yeah, it's, I just genuinely enjoy helping people be successful.
Yeah. And I think that following your interests and understanding where your interests lie, I mean, that has to be how you maneuvered this path over the last, 20 plus years, because your path has been interesting. I was trying to piece it together through LinkedIn and through what I know about you. And, you had garden center, then college, then master's at Michigan State, like premier hort school, Dallas Arboretum, right? You were like plant collect, but you like started one of the people who started their trials, which are like
I started the Dallas plant trials from scratch.
Which are legendary.
It was non-existent.
Now,
yeah.
Right. So following that interest and building that, and then, like you said, the North Haven, and then, being an author, like, I don't know, there's no way you could have mapped this out 20 plus years ago, right? Like, it has to have happened through finding interests, pursuing interests, building mastery, moving on to the next thing. Yeah.
Yes. I have so many hobbies, right? As so many ADHD people do. I do so many different things. But the thing you have to learn is that, so my real hobby is learning new things. That's what you figure out. And so it's okay to figure something out and then move on to something else. I think people feel like, okay, so I have a master's degree in floriculture, greenhouse production for Michigan State, which at the time, yes, absolutely premier program. Worked with Royal Heinz, worked with Art Cameron, Will Carlson. That was, I got a supreme education.
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for that program, really thankful for Michigan State. I got a supreme education there, a great foundation for my career. So, but I also have not spent, and you were generous, 20 something years, but it's been probably about 35 at this point. So I'm just going to pretend that's because you think I look younger than I actually am.
We've established that we're about the same age, and
I'm older than you.
Youthful and young. Can't be more than 20. Can't be more than 20 years.
But yeah, I haven't spent 35 years as a greenhouse grower, right? So, which, okay, a lot of people, I think, feel that, well, I've got these degrees, I have a botany undergrad, with this. Actually, funny story. I was an art major for 2 years in college. I was going to be an artist my whole life. That's really what I actually am.
That doesn't surprise me.
As an artist, when I was 4 in kindergarten, the kindergarten teacher told my mom I still have my first original watercolors that are framed, that I had, that's what she needed to push me, that I had artistic talent. So of course my parents were like, oh my God, no art degree. Don't do that. Right. So what I did, I spent 2 years in a fine arts bachelor program at a really excellent art school. And then they kind of, influences sort of pushed me to, maybe pursue a different degree. So I was like, well, I'll show you, I'm going to get a botany degree. They're like, they wanted me to go into like medicine or finance or whatever. And so when I told them I was going to change my major, they were so happy. And then I was like, botany.
It's so good. That is so good.
Yeah. So the second I changed my major, I actually went to that garden center, the Green Fiddler. And I walked in, and it just so happened, the luck of the universe was that this was a woman-owned nursery. Her name was Carol Watson. This was a business her husband had bought for her. She had no experience in the industry, but this is what she wanted to do. She was a Spitfire. And it was like the meetings of Spitfires. I walked in and just said, hey, I'm a botany major at UNT. I want to work here. And she's like, awesome. You see that hose over there? Why don't you go pick it up and start watering? Okay. Walked over and spent 3 hours watering, and then said, hey, could I go home and change clothes? Because I'm not really dressed for this. She's like, just come back tomorrow and you can have a, regular job. And so I spent 4 years doing that alongside my botany degree because I just went and asked for it. It was crazy. And she was like, I got so much education from her, and I was allowed to do so many things at a young age. I had financial responsibility there. I was buying. I was left there to run the place. It was crazy. So, you pursue things that interest you, and then you figure out how you dig down. So I did that. And then I wasn't sure what I wanted to do exactly after I graduated. So I spent a year running my own little landscaping business, Leslie's Landscaping.
Nice.
And then I went and did a 5-month stint with the University of Puerto Rico down in the rainforest, the El Yunque rainforest, doing post-hurricane impact research on the rainforest. It had been defoliated by Hurricane Hugo in '88. So I actually have a research paper published in the Journal of Tropical Ecology from that work. So yeah, I mean, it's science and art and applied horticulture. I feel like I have to combine them all, or else it doesn't work for me.
Right.
And that's why I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go back and get my master's degree now. I had further aspirations, and that's when I decided to go back to school and ended up at Michigan State, which was my choice, that's the program I wanted to be in, and kind of pushed my way in. They didn't really want me, I don't think, initially, but I sort of strong-armed my way in and did that, and then landed the job at the Dallas Arboretum. As curator of plants was initially, and then director of plant research. And that's where I built the Dallas Arboretum Plant Trials Program. So that was just from scratch. I mean, literally physically built those beds, built the data system, started field day, did all that. I loved that program. That was my baby there. Yeah. And then decided to move on from that and spent a couple years in landscape design and sales and writing, a lot of writing full time. And then that's when I got hit up for North Haven Gardens. So kind of meandered, ecology, plant research, landscape, retail. I kind of run the gamut and then figured all those things out, figured out how to do it, figured out how to make it work and be successful. It's like, okay, now I'm ready to do the next thing, and so after 20 something years of that, that's when I decided I was ready for more new challenges. And I had made a promise to myself by the time I was 40, I would have my own business.
Okay.
And it was 2 weeks from my 40th birthday at North Haven. And I said to myself, oh, wait, I made this promise. So I wrote on a Sunday a letter of resignation. I just wrote it. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to hand this in. I'm just going to take it with me to work in the morning and see how I feel. And I had no plan. And by 9 a.m., I was like, yeah, I got to go. I have to do this. After I turned that in, I had my inspiration about what I wanted to do, which was a B2B business. Not, you think, okay, I'm going to go do horticultural consulting, because that's what you do. It's hard. That's hard to do. And I realized I'm so good at all of these business things in the industry. Why don't I go help other businesses outsource myself? And this was 2012.
Okay.
So everyone was very wounded coming off of the great 2008, 2009 recession. Right. Everyone told me I was crazy to quit this job because of the economic strain. And I said, actually, I feel like it's the best time to do this because none of these companies have to commit to me as an employee.
Right.
They don't have to hire me on payroll. They don't have to pay benefits. They're outsourcing me as a contractor. I'm taking on all the overhead and risk, and I can plug into their businesses without commitment. And I think that's actually, and that I had 3 retainer clients on the books. I gave North Haven 30 days notice, and I had 3 retainer clients on the books before I left. I never had a day off between those 2 jobs. So I just kind of hit the ground running with B2B, business development, marketing, communications. Yeah.
Well, it was also a pivotal time, I think, in the world of garden centers and horticulture businesses, because we were seeing the big shift in customer demographics. I mean, it was early. It was ahead of where we're at now, but it was at a time when I was writing in the industry at that time, articles for garden centers and telling, we've got to be ready for this big shift that's coming. Your business has to change. Like, you're not selling to baby boomers anymore. Like, yes, you are, but that's not what's going to build your business for because there's a lot of generational transitions happening in those businesses. There's, dad, mom retiring, kids taking over. Like, there was so much happening in that 2012 to 2020 time frame.
Right.
So, no, I don't know. You are extremely talented and impressive. And I think that having a vision is one thing, having the guts to do it is a whole nother thing. And I just think it's really cool.
Well, that's very generous of you.
No, but
appreciate those. I will take those compliments. I'm going to take them. I'm going to take those compliments.
You deserve
yeah. And I think, I think if you like being creative, you kind of need continual new challenges.
Yeah.
And like taking on the books, right? Writing books is not a lucrative endeavor. Let's just be
No.
real about that.
But
Writing
it goes to
gardening
your
books.
artistic
Correct.
foundation of you.
Yeah, they are
Right?
creative, and I've done all the photography for all of my books, except for my new book that's coming out. I told them I didn't have time, so they were lovely and did the photography, most of the photography for that book. But, writing books is not. Occasionally you'll have a hit in the gardening and plant book world, and somebody will make a good amount of money off it. But it's more of a labor of love and just for the creative pursuit. And can I do this? Can I actually do this, and how I do that? And so that's what happened. Timber Press hit me up, initially. And so I've done a couple of books with them and a couple of books with Cool Springs Krause. Yeah. So I think that just feeds more of the creative artistic side, and it keeps you plugged in and engaged. It keeps you doing something creative, which I think is important. So I think kind of having those additional projects in addition to whatever it is that you're doing for work is highly beneficial.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you were a magazine columnist for years. I mean, that keeps you dialed in to what's going on in the
I
industry
did
too.
GIE Media for almost 10 years. I think I did like 3 columns a month for them across 3 publications. That's a haul, man, I will tell you.
I get it.
That's all. Sometimes I had to take a break. I actually stepped away from my columns a couple of years ago, not for anything with GIE Media, nothing. I needed a break. So I did, I turned 50 and I took a sabbatical. I actually let go of all my clients, rehomed my staff, made sure everybody was good.
Yeah.
And kind of stepped back and just took a full on break. And I told them, I was like, I have to take a break. So yeah, I have stepped back from a number of things over the last few years. Yeah.
That allows you to step into other things, which is
absolutely
exciting, I think.
Making space.
Definitely. All right, we are 20 minutes in and we have not gotten to the 4 questions.
You just hit me.
I was going to say, it's all good. All right, question number 1. And this is interesting because we have not touched on this, but I'm guessing there's a good answer to this because just knowing who you are. Do you have a morning or evening routine you'd like to share with the listeners, and why do you do this?
Oh, gosh, that has evolved. First, let me say I am very much a morning person. I'm an early... awake 5:30. I'm awake. There's nothing I can do about it. There is no such thing as sleeping in. So for many, many years, hitting it hard, I would be up early. I would usually exercise in the morning. My brain likes to hit numbers, analytical things, the heavier work in the mornings.
Okay.
And so that would be what I would do first. And then I would usually try to save my meetings, creative time, chit chat for the afternoon. So I kind of went with my brain flow. What did my brain want to do? That has changed a lot since I took my sabbatical. I have taken it easier in the mornings. I have found I'm 53 now. Things change. Your brain kind of wants to operate a little bit differently. So I actually, I take a little more time for myself in the mornings now. I've tried to embrace a slower morning, which is weird for me, but I try to do that. I take some time for my coffee on this new property I'm living on in Oregon, which I can tell you about. I think I have lots of lovely places I can have morning coffee sit time. So I'm going to enjoy that. And I actually have moved to exercising midday afternoon because my brain really just wants to do more enriching kind of creative writing, things like that in the mornings now. So I've noticed my routines have evolved and changed over the years. And
it's
I think
flip-flopped. That's interesting.
It's actually flip-flopped. It's really kind of weird. But I think I put so much pressure on myself for so many years. I mean, I'm a highly productive person by nature. I don't really have to force myself to be productive, but I also had a lot of obligations and I had a lot of clients, and I wanted to make sure I was meeting everyone's expectations and, delivering on my promises. And so it was push, 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 for a long time. And I think, you hit 50 and it's a reassessment. It's a reawakening time. And you ask yourself, how do I want to spend the next 25 years? Do I want to keep doing this same push? Do I want to reevaluate? So I reevaluated and I asked myself, what do I really need in the mornings versus what I've been doing? And I realized I need a little more quiet time in the morning, a little more time to ease into the day, and push my physical push the exercise, push that to later in the day. And that has made my brain really a lot happier.
And I wonder if you were, and I fall into these same tendencies.
Yeah.
So my question to you is more of an introspection, but like, I wonder if you were forcing it and then got into the habit of it and then talked yourself into that being the way you were wired.
Probably, but I think that's what we all do to a degree.
Yeah.
I think that's what we all do because there's expectations on us and we have to meet them. Or if you have kids, I mean, if you've got kids, I don't have children. If you have kids, you are operating around their routines, the other day, I have the freedom to not do that. And so I'm able to maybe shift my routines in a way that folks with kids aren't yet able to, but it's something they should be thinking about because I think to take care of kids, you need to take care of yourself. So don't forget to take care of yourself, for sure. So I think my creative brain probably wanted to do a little bit of more of that in the mornings, but I just my workload and what I had to get done.
There's a necessity at that point that you had to knock those things out early.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sharper. My brain is sharper in the mornings. And so it's yes, let's do the hard stuff, the analytical stuff, the numbers, the sales reports, the open to buy, let's do all that in the morning. But now, I've kind of shifted some of that. So I do a little bit more. I do a little more creative stuff in the mornings now, whether that's drawing or writing. And then I push kind of after the harder stuff to after 10 a.m. I think I told you, I said, you can book me at 10 a.m. or after Pacific time.
No, that's good. And having the ability to shift and evolve that routine, I think is important. So it's
part of listening to yourself and what you need. And I think as Americans in a capitalistic society that pushes productivity 24/7, we don't give ourselves enough consideration into what our natural flows are and when our brains want to do certain things. And it also feels like you're breaking the rules a little bit. No, you're supposed to exercise in the morning. What are you doing, you lazy bum? No, I do it in the afternoon, but it's so interesting now. I'm getting some affirmation on that from some people women out in the medical field. No, your brain wants to do this in the morning, do that in the morning, put the exercise to later when your brain wants to rest. Go do the physical stuff.
I like that.
So my morning routine has evolved, and now that I've just moved, I suspect it might evolve again because I'm going to have lots of nature to go out and explore in the morning. So that might be part of the new morning routine.
That'll be a good routine.
Yeah.
We'll have to circle back and see how that's going.
Sure.
All right. Question number 2, again, perfect for someone who's been involved in just about every aspect of the green industry. And I'm slightly nervous to ask this question.
Oh, no.
What is something about professional horticulture that annoys you, and how would you change it?
Okay. I'll probably just admit outright that I probably live in a general state of annoyance pretty much 24/7. So it's kind of what doesn't annoy me? I don't know. Let's see how to best funnel the answer to this question. Some of this is self-criticism of myself and how I operate, but I am as a hyper-vigilant, hyper-independent person who's a circular thinker, I tend to think through all the possible permeations of what could happen in a situation. And I feel like there's not enough of that in this industry. I feel like there's too much slow linear thinking without enough projecting out kind of what you were talking about earlier. Hey, this industry's changing. You got to evolve. You got to move. And there has been a lot of resistance to that. So I think thinking ahead is something I think a lot of people don't do. And I will admit that does frustrate me about the industry because I feel like I'm always thinking way far ahead and it can be tough to sort of pull people along. So I feel that our industry tends to stick its heels in the mud a little bit for a little too long. There's resistance to make change as quickly as I like to make change or feel like change needs to be made. I know that's a bit of a meandering answer. I don't know if that makes clear
enough. It does,
enough.
because we are reactive. To me, that's a reactive mentality. And when you were talking, I was thinking all of the years where I've seen at events, heard a state of the industry, and it's usually Charlie Hall, and he's usually talking about what, looking back on the previous year and saying, oh, we didn't pivot quick enough, and then looking forward to the next few years and giving advice. And then he does the same thing in the next year and the same thing. And eventually, like, all of it comes true. And the reaction is like, oh, crap, I better change now. And you're like, well, but if you had listened for 5 years, you'd be ready.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie. I will say that that's probably one of my biggest frustrations just with clients. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of the decision making in the green industry is rooted in fear. Understandably so. I'm not, that's not dismissive. There's valid reasons to have certain fears and concerns. And I have a high tolerance for risk, and everybody doesn't have the same risk tolerance, but you need to know what your risk tolerance is, and then you need to move accordingly. So I think, for me, I've always foreseen so much possibility and so many opportunities, and I see so much of it not being taken advantage of that's probably one of my biggest irritations or frustrations with the industry is that there's so much opportunity to be had, but we're very, like you said, reactionary. And I am a very proactive person. I'm an aggressive action taker. And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. I'm aware of that. But it's kind of like, let me do that. And if you can follow along enough to meet in the middle, then we'll get you where you need to go. But let me push hard forward. Live in some of your discomfort with that. It's be in it, but then get to take advantage of the benefits of making that shift. And so I think that's sometimes it feels a little lonely, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think part of it is that we sell a perishable product? And if you talk to a lot of people, I mean, we're recording this, on April 23rd. Like, there's plenty of people that are like, it all depends on the weather in the next 4 weeks, like, period. No. And you're like, well, but does it? Like, it shouldn't.
No. So I'm very much a data person, and I'm very much, you have to control the conversation person. And yes, weather is a component. Look, having been in retail for so long, you're obsessed with the weather and you're watching that. But I'm also somebody who never didn't take a booking that I booked regardless of weather.
Yeah.
I never told a grower, I can't take this because of weather or hold it 2 weeks for me. Nope, that's not their job. That's my job. If the weather's not cooperating, how do I work around that from a marketing angle with my customers to get this product sold? It's my job to move it. Weather is a part of the weather does not control us in the industry. And I think that that's a very pervasive misconception. Is it a big part of it? Absolutely. Sure. Are there things you can do to work around it? Absolutely. But it's sort of that, well, this is how it's done and this is the mentality. And so it's also a great excuse. Weather's a great excuse for people in a lot of ways. One of the reasons, so for example, in my business of selling plants course, which I teach in the winter quarter for UCLA, the goal is to take the fear out of buying at inventory management through data, numbers, and to learn how to use an open to buy to replenish, to learn how to project inventory needs, and to learn how to see ahead so you can see turns are starting to slow down. And that's okay, what do I need to do? What actions can I take really proactively right now to change that turn rate, to get that turn rate back where I need it to be, regardless of weather or whatever else. But that's the stuff that I think, a lot of folks just don't have a good handle on. They're still buying and replenishing and programming off of gut and feeling and what they did last year, and so there's a lot of but I see that as opportunity for profit. Yeah, to me, exactly. If you're not doing it, well, great. Then you only have to go from here. Right. So I think resistance to change and a reactiveness, those would be my biggest. Those are my biggest irritations, I would say.
Okay, totally fair. I see them. Oh. All right. Third question: what are 3 tools you couldn't live without or couldn't do your job without?
Oh my gosh.
You have a lot of different jobs. So this could be hand tools. This could be technology. This could be your coffee cup.
The coffee cup that's number one, non-negotiable. I was going to say caffeine. I am an addict, like straight up. There is no giving it up. It is the fuel of life.
Yep. Amen.
Never giving up. So caffeine, absolutely number one. I am a hybrid in all ways. I am both a Luddite in that throw me out in the jungle in the Amazon and I am as happy as I'll ever be. I can at the same time being a Gen Xer who rode that fence of having a completely feral childhood in the mud I didn't use a computer in my undergraduate degree. I always tell people, like, I didn't have an email address when I started college. I didn't either. I didn't have any of that.
No.
And then as soon as I started grad school, that completely shifted, and then
Right.
everything. And I'm really good at technology. I started building websites. I started doing a lot of tech. So I'm very much a hybrid. So I do love all of my tech tools. I mean, I use the Adobe suite like crazy. I pay for the Adobe suite. And if you are a business, I mean, you probably should too, because there's so many tools you can do in there. I take my iPad. I have a full size iPad that goes everywhere with me. I can do everything on it, which is awesome. So that's a tool that I have to have. Obviously, my smartphone is basically my camera.
Sure.
I can't do anything without a camera. So either the camera or the camera phone is a non-negotiable tool. I am taking pictures of everything 24/7. And I think that that's another place people fall down in this industry, is they just do not take enough photographs of their work. And so that's a big one. In the garden, a handmatic is pretty much my constant companion. I look like a little Tasmanian devil with that pretty much everywhere I go out in the yard. So I'm always chopping away at something. Yeah, I would say I got to have my laptop. I got to have my iPad. I got to have a camera. Those are non-negotiables, the coffee. And then, I mean, anything out. I mean, I use everything in the garden. So yeah, I don't know. Is there a particular tool I could give you a recommendation on, technical or otherwise, that maybe you're looking for? Or does that answer that question?
No, I think that answers the question. I think it's interesting that you went from an iPad to a handmatic, because I think that perfectly describes what you do in horticulture.
I am very much embrace the dirt and the earth. Like my feet are in the dirt while I'm typing, on the laptop or iPad. And I think that's key. I think that as plant people, passionate about plants, you have to embrace the technology that makes sense for you to embrace and employ it. It is your voice. It's how you communicate. It's how you do commerce with the world. I will say moving to Oregon is so interesting. I was in Dallas for 28 years. There's almost 9 million people in the DFW Metroplex. There's like 4.2 million people in the state of Oregon. So I know this is a bit Portlandia-ish, but I feel like I have traveled back to 1998, because websites here are all from 1998. Like all of it. I'm like, I could restart, because I used to build websites for clients in e-commerce. I'm like, I could restart a whole website building company here again, because everybody needs a new website. There's so much low-hanging fruit for businesses here, and there's tons of growers in Oregon. There is tons of horticulture here. Y'all, we need to get you up to speed on your digital presence here. So I will just leave that at that.
No, that's good. And I do think it's funny, just the time that I've spent in Portland, many, many trips over the years. It has that sort of hybrid mentality of like feet in the dirt, technology. I mean, there's some big companies, big innovative companies, but also plenty of, running the trails in the mountains. Like, Portland that's your place.
I think as a hybrid human, I think I landed in the perfect hybrid state.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
All right. Final question. Another one that is really appropriate for a well-rounded person. What advice would you give to a young person considering the pursuit of a career in horticulture? I don't even know how you define a career in horticulture. The more we've been talking, I'm like, I don't even think that is not like a definable term, but we know, what I'm asking.
I think that, again, I do what I want in the industry. I do pursue the paths that you want to pursue. And somebody coming into the horticulture industry, you don't know what you don't know. This is what I would tell all my students, because in my business of horticulture class, I have a lot of career transitioners, and we do a lot of industry discovery in the first part of the class, just introducing them to the industry. And I think people coming into this industry don't do enough of that. People don't know what kind of businesses are actually in this industry. They don't know what kind of jobs are available, it's so much more varied than anybody thinks it is. I mean, just look at me. I mean, there's no traditional path that I've taken, yet I am a certified professional horticulturist. I'm the chair of that certification board, by the way, right now, and we need to see some applicants. I would like to see applicants for the CPH. So get those in there, folks. I can give you the link for that.
I'd say send me the link. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yes. So I think that someone interested in the industry needs to really do their own investigation. They need to look at lots of companies online. They need to see what type of businesses are there, what kind of jobs. For example, when I was deciding to go back and get my master's degree, I did an industry salary job analysis before I took on that research assistantship. I wanted to see what kind of jobs were available. I wanted to see how much they paid. I wanted to see how much I was paying for this master's degree and if it was going to be worth doing that based on or not going back to school, like which was going to work out best for me. People need to be educated about what type of jobs are out there, what the pay is. They need to understand what educational requirements are necessary for certain jobs. A lot of people just simply don't understand we're in a science-based industry and you do need education. You do need some credentials. You can't just become a horticulturist because you call yourself that. It doesn't work that way. And so I think that people need to be a lot more educated about exactly what they need to do and where they need to spend their money to buy that career, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're spending mental and emotional capital and you're spending monetary capital to create whatever you want. But I would also say don't limit yourself to one path, because that can lead to a lot of discontent and lack of success. So just because you get a degree in one thing in the industry doesn't mean you can't pivot to something else. Think about what your personal aptitudes are. What are you good at? What do you like to do? What do you not like to do? I have a little exercise in my class that it's really simple. It's just, I always tell everyone that happiness in your career or in your business or in this industry comes down not to the plants, but to the people who you're going to serve, be that your customers or whomever, and the people that you have to work with to serve those people that will ultimately make you happy or miserable.
Yep. Right.
Ultimately. And so you have to really think about who are the kind of people that you want to work with. Are growers and nursery people, do they have the kind of personality type? Are they the kind of people you want to work with? Do you like retail? Do you like design? Do you want to be in a lab and do you want to do research? What do you like to do and who do you like to do it with? Ultimately, what kind of people do you want to be around? So I think anybody coming in, it's not as simple anymore as I'm going to go get a horticulture degree or I'm going to go get this
because I
degree
like
and then I'm going to
plants.
get
I like
right,
plants.
and then I'm going to
be
get
a
this
horticulture
job.
person. Right.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. You need to be a lot more holistically analytical about exactly what kind of opportunities there are out there. What does it pay? And then what do I need to do from an education or credential standpoint to get there? And then are there other things that I want to try along the way?
I appreciate that sort of realistic look at it, because it is easy to say, oh, well, it's, if you like plants, get into horticulture and it'll be great. And I think you're absolutely right. It's the people you work with. It's the avenue that you pursue, because sure, anybody can have a career in horticulture, but are they going to be happy? Are they going to stick with it more than 3 to 5 years? Or are they going to regret going through that program and spending that mental, emotional, monetary capital, like you said? No, I think that's really, really good advice. And I think there's probably a lot of people in our industry that needed that advice.
Well, and
years ago.
The old adage is make the plan work the plan,
Right.
And what I always add on for my clients and students is, okay, yes, make the plan, work the plan, change the plan. Change the plan. Don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to pivot. Do something different. Pivot before it's too late. I'm not saying, I know with the younger generation, there's like maybe a 2-3 year, they're kind of encouraged to change jobs a lot and they tend to do that. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is it's not just about job switching. It's about interest and aptitude and following what niches and pieces and parts in the industry spark interest in you and then follow that. Even if it's not exactly what you thought you were going to do before, even if it's not, I thought I was going to be an artist my whole life. Even if it's not what you thought it was going to do, that's okay. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to follow a different path. You're allowed to explore additional opportunities or other paths. And just because, look, I have no professional writing training. I've taken some creative writing classes at UCLA in my later life, but I didn't go to school for journalism. I have no professional writing training whatsoever. That's just something I taught myself to do. I learned how to write my voice, which is essentially what you have to do, is just learn how to write how you think and how you talk. So, if I had listened to somebody who told me I couldn't do that because I didn't have that training, so I think you also have to have a little bit of, again, I'm hyper independent. You have to have You have to let go of fear, and you have to be really careful not to listen to the stories that other people tell about you, which are usually not true, and do your own thing. My ultimate advice is do your own thing.
Yeah. That's like the perfect way to end this discussion. I think that sums a lot of it up, although there is a lot of nuance to it. And it's, you can say, oh, it just, happened to do these things, but I know you're a thoughtful person, and good. You can get lucky, but you have to be in the right place to receive that luck.
There's no luck involved in anything that I've done. It's all intention.
Love it. Good.
There's intention. I mean, sure, there's lots of things that maybe I didn't get to do that, didn't happen, but you're never going to hit a goal that you don't set for yourself ultimately. So write it down, set the goal, and make it happen if you can.
Stick with it. Right on at your 40th birthday when you resign to go and do that thing you promised that you would do.
I made the commitment. I said I was going to do it, so I did it.
Yeah, that's admirable. I love it. But I wish we could talk all day, but I know that we both have full plates. You probably have boxes to unpack or acres to explore. I mean, that sounds like fun, moving into a new big piece of property and all the different things you're going to find. Like, have you found anything crazy yet that you weren't expecting?
Yes. And actually some deer showed up at the kitchen window last night. That was interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. I have 6 acres partially forested. I've got farm and forestry zoning. I haven't even done a full audit of this property yet. I've only been here a couple of days.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
I was saying this morning, one of my projects is I need to go out and basically map out the whole property. I need a tree survey. I got to do a tree survey. I got to figure out everything I have. But yes, I keep finding all sorts of interesting things. So there will be a lot of horticultural goings on that I'll be getting up to on this property that I'll fill the world in on here soon.
Oh, I love it. That is so much fun. Well, thank you again so much for your time. Thanks for all that you do. This has been great.
Thanks. Call me anytime.
I will. Well, I think that ties a bow on this episode of Tech on Demand, but I cannot close without reminding you to subscribe, share the podcast with your peers. There are like 250 more episodes in the archive covering all sorts of topics, something for everyone in professional horticulture, garden center retail, landscape, CEA production, and more. Take care out there.